On September 2018, 16-year-old high school student Leo Martinez left his home in Bishop, California, and was never seen again. The next day, his pickup truck was found abandoned on a dirt road leading to Volcanic Gorge. Inside was a backpack without water, a torn hiking map, and an old multi-tool. There was no phone or wallet. 6 years have passed. In June of 2024, a group of rock climbers exploring a new fissure in the volcanic rock came across an unknown cavern. On the damp stone wall, they saw only one word clearly carved: Leo. Leo Martinez was born and raised in Bishop, a small town in eastern California surrounded by jagged peaks and desert roads. The place attracted tourists for its stunning landscapes, but for local teenagers, it seemed like a cage. 16-year-old Leo often told his friends, "Bishop is only beautiful for those who are passing through." He dreamed of moving on to Los Angeles and eventually to the East Coast. He was the middle son in his family. His father worked as a mechanic in a local garage, and his mother was a clerk in a grocery store. His older brother was already studying at a university in Oregon, and his younger sister was in high school. For his parents, he remained the quiet guy who spent most of his time with a camera in his hands. His home was littered with prints, mountain landscapes, night shots of the starry sky, and abandoned mining equipment on the side of the road. Photography was his passion. At 16, he saved up for a second-hand DSLR camera he bought through an online classified ad. Since then, Leo spent most of his weekends in the desert, choosing routes that only experienced hikers usually took. He knew all the narrow paths around Bishop and could navigate by the rock formations and the movement of the sun. His friends recalled he liked to go where no one else dared to go. However, in the summer of 2018, his behavior changed. Teachers noticed that he became distant, often sitting in the last desk and drawing strange shapes in his notebook, circles with intersecting lines similar to ancient symbols. His classmates would laugh at first, but then stopped paying attention. Only a few close friends said that Leo seemed to be planning some kind of trip, but did not want to explain where or why. At home, he remained calm, but the family felt a growing tension. His mother said that her son spent long hours at his laptop in the evenings scrolling through forums about caves and forbidden places in California. The father recalled how he had found climbing ropes and carabiners in the garage several times that had not been there before. Summers in Bishop were hot, and most teenagers spent their time near Bishop Creek or on mountain bike trails. Leo, on the other hand, was becoming increasingly withdrawn. When his friends asked him to go for a ride, he refused, saying, "I have other things to do." One day, according to classmate Maya Singh, he said, "There are places here that no one knows about. If you find them, you can leave a mark." The girl didn't think much of it at the time, but after his disappearance, these words came back to her as a disturbing prophecy. Family photos from that summer show Leo always with a camera. There are few people in his pictures, only landscapes, granite cliffs, dry creek beds, and lonely pine trees along the volcanic rock. It seems that he wanted to capture the space without witnesses, as if he was preparing to stay there forever. By mid-September, the boy had almost stopped sharing his plans. His parents thought it was just a normal adolescence. But his older brother, who came home for a few days, noticed a strange determination in him. He later recalled, Leo looked like he was keeping a secret in his head that he couldn't tell anyone. In the evenings, he would go to a hill outside of town, overlooking the volcanic gorge. There, he would sit with a notebook and take notes. A neighbor who often walked her dog saw him several times. He was sitting motionless, looking into the distance as if waiting for something. A few days before he disappeared, his friends noticed another detail. He had printed out a map of the gorge and marked several points on it with circles. When they asked him why, he just said, "We have to try it." He did not explain anything else. Those weeks in September were the last time anyone saw Leo as normal. Then began a story that has become one of the darkest mysteries of the California desert. On September 15, 2018, a Saturday at 7 o'clock in the morning, Leo's mother saw her son for the last time at home. She recalled how he ate a quick breakfast of cereal and milk, took the keys to his old Toyota pickup, and went out into the yard. He was wearing dark jeans, a blue t-shirt, and a faded baseball cap with the logo of a local sports team. At 9:30 in the morning, a surveillance camera at a gas station in the center of Bishop captured his truck. The gas station attendant later told the police that the guy had bought a bottle of water and a protein bar, paid in cash, and was acting calmly. He also noticed that Leo took 2 extra batteries for his headlamp. This receipt was later attached to the case file. At approximately 10 o'clock in the morning, his pickup truck was seen on Highway 395 leading to Volcanic Gorge. A local family who was traveling to the mountains at the time later confirmed this. The truck was familiar. We knew him from school. He was driving alone. At 11:20, according to one hiker from Nevada who was returning from a hike, he met a young man near an old sign marking the beginning of an unmaintained trail into the gorge. The man described the boy as wearing a light-colored t-shirt with a camera over his shoulder. He looked focused, didn't even say hello, the report reads. This was the last confirmed witness to see Leo alive. After that, his route was lost. No official hiking groups were registered in Volcanic Gorge that day. The sun was rising higher, and the temperature exceeded 95 degrees Fahrenheit. In such conditions, even experienced travelers found it difficult to stay without water for long. The next day, September 16th, around 9 o'clock in the morning, random travelers found an abandoned Toyota pickup on a dirt road a few kilometers from the official route. The truck was standing upright, with no signs of an accident or struggle. The doors were locked, and the keys were nowhere to be found. Inside was Leo's backpack. Inside was an empty bottle, a few protein bars, and a sketchbook, but no compass or water filter, which he always took on his hikes. This immediately struck his parents as odd. Leo never went into the gorge without a full supply of water. There was also an old multi-tool on the front seat. The phone and wallet were not found. There were car documents and insurance in the glove compartment, but no other traces. A torn hiking map of the area was lying on the floor. It had several circles made with a pen in different places in the gorge, the same marks he had drawn in his notebooks. The truck was parked in the direct sun. It was stuffy and quiet inside, as if the boy had left it for just a minute and was about to return. But he did not. On September 17, 2018, at 9 o'clock in the morning, Leo Martinez's mother called the Bishop Police Department. Her son had not returned home for 2 nights, and his phone was turned off. At first, the officer on duty tried to calm the woman down, explaining that teenagers often stay late in the mountains or go to visit friends. However, after the report of the truck found the day before, the tone of the conversation changed. The vehicle was officially registered as abandoned, and now the case was reclassified as a missing person. On the same day, at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, the first search group gathered near Volcanic Gorge. It consisted of 15 police officers and about 20 local volunteers. Later, dog handlers from Sacramento and drones were added to the search. The official chronology is recorded in police reports. September 17th, 1440. The drones flew over the area around the place where the pickup truck was parked. The footage shows only deserted slopes with no human footprints. September 18th, 7 o'clock in the morning, dogs picked up a trail from the truck, but it was lost after 500 meters in the rocky terrain. The dog handlers said that the heat and wind had completely destroyed the scent. September 19th, the searchers examined more than 20 kilometers of trails, including an abandoned mining route. Not a single object or trace was found. Local newspapers that week carried the headlines, "16-year-old disappears in gorge and police consider heat stroke." A department spokesman said, "The conditions this summer are particularly harsh. If the boy walked away from the car without water, his chances of survival are minimal. The family immediately denied this version. His father reminded them that Leo knew all the trails around Bishop, had been hiking since childhood, and had never been without water. His mother insisted he was preparing for something special. He couldn't have just wandered off around the house. His friends also did not believe in the official explanation. They recalled his words about places no one knows and maps with strange markings. When the police made public the fact of the torn map in the truck, it only reinforced suspicions that he may have deliberately moved away from the main paths. The atmosphere in the city was becoming increasingly tense. In the evenings, residents gathered near a coffee shop on Main Street and discussed the news. Some believed that the boy wanted to escape, while others suspected a crime, but there was no concrete evidence. Despite all the resources, drones, dogs, dozens of volunteers, the desert remained silent. The search lasted a week, then another. Not a single item, not a single clue. It was as if Leo had vanished among the volcanic rocks. The official police report, dated October 1st, 2018, contained only one sentence: probably lost and died of dehydration. For the parents, these words were unacceptable. They insisted that their son knew the area well, and the absence of even bones or personal belongings proved otherwise. Almost 6 years have passed. The case of Leo Martinez remained in the police archives marked cold. His disappearance was rarely mentioned in Bishop, except on the anniversary of the tragedy. For the official reports, everything looked clear. The boy got lost in the desert and died of the heat. For the family, it was an empty version without evidence. The turning point came in the spring of 2024. In April, a group of geology students from the University of Nevada, Reno, came to the volcanic gorge area. They studied erosion processes in the volcanic rock, measured cracks, and made maps. On April 22nd at 1630, one of them, graduate student Ben Carter, noticed a strange carved symbol on one of the ledges. At a height of about 2 meters, the sign was clearly visible in the stone, an empty circle with a vertical line inside. The lines were fresh-looking, made with a sharp metal object. Carter took a picture of the discovery and posted it to his social media account that evening with a caption, "Found a strange symbol carved into a rock in volcanic gorge. Does anyone know what it means?" The post quickly gained comments. Most users joked about ancient petroglyphs or hikers' marks. But a few hours later, a friend of the Martinez family saw the photo and sent the link to Leo's mother. The mother responded instantly. She had kept several of her son's school notebooks, and in the margins of them, the same sign, a circle with a slash, was repeated dozens of times. "This is my son's symbol," she said, and the next day, she handed the notebooks over to the police. The department made an official comparison. Experts confirmed that the carving in the rock was very similar to the drawings in Leo's notebooks. Even the proportions matched. The report noted the mark was created in the last few years, possibly in 2018. The news was reported in the local newspaper, the Bishop Creek Chronicle, with the headline, "Mysterious Symbol in the Gorge," a new clue in the Martinez case. The article sparked a wave of discussion. Some believed that any tourist could have done it. Others were convinced that it was Leo who left it, trying to leave a trace. For the family, the discovery was the first real evidence in 6 years. An artifact carved into the rock suddenly destroyed the version of an accidental death and gave hope that the boy had been in that place and may have lived longer than officially believed. It was then that the investigation, which had seemed hopeless, came to life again. And the focus was now not only on the story of the missing teenager, but also on the mysterious symbols among the volcanic rocks of the desert. After a photo of the strange symbol was posted on social media and an article in the Bishop Creek Chronicle, in the spring of 2024, Leo Martinez's case was once again in the spotlight. The news quickly spread among adventure enthusiasts, bloggers, and researchers of abandoned places. Groups of searchers began to come to Volcanic Gorge, some out of curiosity, some in search of evidence that the boy had indeed left footprints. The locals had different perceptions. For some, the new wave of expeditions was a hope. Perhaps now they would be able to find something important. For others, it was just another reminder of the tragedy. The police officially warned that the area was dangerous, but it was impossible to stop the flow of enthusiasts. 2 months later, in June of 2024, one of these groups, 3 rock climbers from Reno, was exploring the slopes 3 kilometers from where Leo's pickup truck was once found. After the spring rains, a rock slide had come down here and a new passage had opened at its base. The entrance was narrow, less than 2 meters wide, like a random fissure in the rock. On June 11th, at 10:30 in the morning, the climbers decided to go inside. Flashlights illuminated the damp walls. At first glance, there was nothing unusual: natural scratches, layers of volcanic rock. But after a few meters, they saw something that made them stop. Dozens of scratches were visible on the walls, chaotically made by a sharp object. Among this mess, the word Leo stood out clearly. The letters were uneven but distinct. They were almost half a meter high and were made in such a way that they were impossible to miss. Nearby on the ground were the remains of an old pocket flashlight. The body was broken. The batteries rusted away. A little further away was a multi-tool with a broken handle covered in corrosion. Both items looked like they had been there for several years. The photos of the find were quickly passed on to the police. The officers arrived the next day. The report states, in the cave at a depth of approximately 15 meters, the inscription Leo was found carved into the wall. Nearby are objects similar to the personal belongings of the missing Martinez. This was a turning point for the locals. If until then the official version had explained the disappearance as an accident, now there was evidence that looked deliberate. Leo was not just lost. He left his name there in the darkness of the cave as if he wanted to be found. The discovery changed the atmosphere of the case. An accidental disappearance turned into a story with a clear trail that hinted that something more than an ordinary tragedy was happening in the gorge. In July of 2024, the cave where the inscription Leo was found was officially examined by forensic experts from Sacramento. The operation lasted 3 days, and the results came as a shock to everyone who followed the case. First of all, the experts confirmed that the carving on the wall was made in about 2018. To do this, they used the method of microscopic analysis of oxidation marks on the surface of the scratches. The conclusion was unequivocal. The inscription appeared at the time when Leo disappeared. Exploring the cave revealed even more strange details. In the corner next to the fragments of the flashlight, there was a piece of cloth torn with an uneven edge. The laboratory confirmed that it was a cotton fabric with polyester impurities, typical of t-shirts sold in those years. There were traces of sweat and dust on the fibers, but DNA testing was inconclusive due to the severe degradation of the material. Charred remains of wood were also found on the ground. They were in a small hole, as if from an improvised fire. Nearby were stones stacked in a circle. Chemical analysis showed that these were the remains of an old fire dating from the same period as the inscription. It turned out that someone, and almost certainly Leo himself, had been trying to spend not just 1 hour in the cave, but at least several days. This was a turning point for the police. If earlier they had been inclined to believe in the version of an accidental disappearance and death in the desert, now a new hypothesis arose. The boy could have deliberately hidden in the cave. Investigators returned to Leo's personal belongings, which were stored in his parents' garage. Among them was an old laptop. It had already been examined in 2018, but the inspection was superficial. The technicians looked through only the basic files and found nothing suspicious. The computer was returned to the family. Now, after the discovery in the cave, experts used modern tools to recover deleted data. Among the recovered data was the history of visits to online forums. One of them was tellingly named Hidden Caves of California. In the discussions of this forum, Leo appeared under the nickname Gorge Explorer. He left dozens of messages between May and August of 2018. His posts were about unexplored fissures, old mining tunnels, and caves where you can go undetected. The police were most interested in the correspondence with a user called Shadow_Dweller. It has been preserved in the form of several threads, where the interlocutors discussed ways to build shelters in rock faults, water sources, and methods of orientation without maps. In the messages, Shadow_Dweller kept hinting, there are places that even local guides don't know about. You can stay there and no one will find you. Investigators were unable to identify this person. The IP addresses led to public Wi-Fi in different cities in California, but the tone of the correspondence was disturbing, as if someone was deliberately pushing the boy to leave home and try himself in a dangerous experiment. The family reacted painfully. For his mother, the idea that Leo wanted to go into hiding was unacceptable. She insisted he could only have gone there under the influence of someone else. The news caused a real stir in the town. Discussions divided people into two camps. Some said he decided to escape from the world himself. It was a conscious step. Others were convinced someone took advantage of his gullibility, lured him into a trap. The examination of the cave and the discovered correspondence changed the nature of the case. It ceased to be a random disappearance and began to resemble a story of a carefully prepared plan or even foreign influence. A new line appeared in the police report for August 2024. The identity of the Shadow_Dweller user who contacted Martinez on the eve of his disappearance needs to be established. The case was reopened for a broader investigation. And now the focus was not only on the cave with the inscription Leo, but also on the mysterious interlocutor, who may have known much more than it seemed at first glance. When the results of the cave's examination were published in the press, interest in the Leo Martinez case increased dramatically. The media began to mention other cases of disappearances in the same area. At least 3 similar stories were found in the National Park's archives. A tourist from Arizona disappeared in 2010. A couple of students from Oregon disappeared in 2013, and a traveler from Nevada disappeared in 2016. All of them were last seen hiking the trails near Volcanic Gorge. For a long time, these facts remained scattered in the reports of various services. Only now they were put together, and it was realized that the disappearances were strangely concentrated in one area. Local newspapers wrote about the cursed gorge, and bloggers created interactive maps marking all the points associated with similar cases. The rock climbers who first entered the cave labeled Leo continued their research. They mapped every new passage, every crack in the rocks, and gradually a network of passages emerged, stretching several kilometers into the depths of the gorge. Some of these corridors were so narrow and dangerous that no one even dared to go through them without special equipment. In September of 2024, a group of researchers decided to return to the cave to go further than the main hall with the inscription. After several hours, they came across a small recess in the wall. In it was an old metal box that looked like an army ammunition container. It was covered with rust, but still held its shape. The box was carefully removed and handed over to the police. Inside, among the shards of plastic and torn paper, they found the most valuable thing: an SD card sandwiched between pieces of foam. It looked damaged, the edges were burnt, but after several attempts, the technicians were able to open some of the files. Several dark, blurry photos appeared on the screen. The first one was a narrow corridor with uneven walls, illuminated by a weak beam of a flashlight. The second was a fragment of rock with scratches similar to those seen in the main cave. The third is a vague shadow of a human figure on the wall. It is impossible to determine whether it was the photographer himself or someone else. The police registered the discovery in the case file as an artifact of unknown origin. For the family, it was a new blow. If Leo had a camera or a device for storing photos, it means that he was consciously documenting what he saw. So why were these images left in a box deep in the cave? Investigators began to compare the data with other disappearances. Maps showed that all cases occurred within the same system of passages. A theory emerged. There was a whole network of caves that had been overlooked by tourists and even experienced guides for years. And it was there that people could disappear. A wave of rumors rose in the city again. Some people talked about secret cults, others about criminal hideouts. But the fact remained. A metal box with a card with photos of shadows in dark corridors was found in the cave. And now Leo's case finally stopped looking like an ordinary disappearance of a teenager. It was turning into a story with the hallmarks of a purposeful mystery hidden deep in the depths of Volcanic Gorge. In the fall of 2024, the California Highway Patrol's Investigative Services Unit released the final report on the Leo Martinez case. For the first time, it officially recognized that the boy was indeed in the cave, where his name, personal belongings, and an artifact with an SD card were found. But this was the end of the confirmed facts. Investigators noted that there was no evidence that he had been there voluntarily. There was also no confirmation that he had been lured or dragged there by force. The versions remained open. The key paragraph of the report read as follows. Further investigation did not allow to establish either the whereabouts of the missing person or the circumstances of his death or possible escape. The body has not been found. Given the lack of new evidence, the case is classified as unresolved. This wording was a cold sentence for the family. The mother refused to sign the documents, repeating to journalists, "My son is alive until his body is gone." Every year, the sister brought photos taken by her brother in the desert to the symbolic section of the city cemetery. In Bishop, the matter took on a completely different meaning. The cave with the inscription became known as the Cave with a Name. Local children told eerie stories about shadows appearing on the walls and the voice of a boy calling for help. Tourist companies did not officially include this area in their routes, but this made it even more attractive to thrill seekers. Volunteers who tried to go deeper into the system of passages several times reported strange sensations. Sudden temperature changes, rustling in the dark, traces of old campsites that could not have belonged to just one person. They found scratches on the stones that resembled the same symbols Leo had drawn. But some of them looked older, as if left long before he disappeared. These details sparked a new wave of rumors. Some spoke of secret cults, others of criminal hideouts. Some even claimed that there was an unknown network of caves in the gorges where people could disappear for years. The police officially warned that the entrance to the cave was dangerous and access was prohibited. However, this only strengthened its reputation as a cursed place. The case culminated in a letter to the family dated December 5, 2024. It stated, "The case of Leo Martinez is officially closed as unresolved. There was no grave, just an empty plot in the city cemetery with a sign that read, 'In memory of Leo.' Every year, his parents brought flowers there, and his sister left photos, and the cave with his name remained. And everyone who dared to approach its entrance saw the carved word Leo, a silent testimony to the presence of the boy who disappeared in September 2018. Whether he left this inscription himself or someone else is still unknown. And along with this ambiguity, the most disturbing question remained: whose other traces are hidden in the dark corridors under Volcanic Gorge?